Welcome to Pop Up to Powerhouse, the podcast where side hustles turn pro. Here, we're pulling back the curtain on what it takes to build a standout, profitable brand in the event industry. From pricing with confidence to landing luxury clients, I'm sharing the wins, the setbacks, and everything in between, so you can turn your passion into a powerhouse business. Welcome back to another week of Pop Up to Powerhouse. And this week we have a powerhouse interview for you. We are sitting down with Carolina Gomez of Balloon Element, and now has a coaching program called Grow My Balloon Biz, where she helps balloon artists attract corporate clients. In just as little as 2 years, she started her business, turned it into six figures by solely only offering services to corporate clients. And we're going to sit down and talk about all the do's, the don'ts, and help you maybe get over some of those mental roadblocks of what it might take to attract those corporate clients. So I can't wait for you to sit down. She is a breath of fresh air, has so much energy, and I hope that you'll take away some tactical, or I know that you're going to take away some tactical things from this interview, because she has such a great proven strategy and framework that is easy. Anybody can do it. I'm excited for this episode because this is exactly why I wanted to start this podcast, was not just high level things for you to listen to and take, but not only are we talking about mindset, but we're actually going to talk about tactical strategies that you can take home. And that's exactly what you're going to learn in this interview. I'm so glad that you reached out. And then I went, it's been a crazy few weeks because I'm sure like you're still doing installs also, right?
Right.
And so us too. And so 4th of July has been insane. And this last week was actually super crazy. So it was just like trying to get everything put together and organized. So I finally went on your Instagram this morning, and I have to tell you that I love your energy. Just the energy that you exude from your videos, amazing. You're doing so great.
Oh, thank you so much, Jamie. I'm so grateful that this is even our reality, right? That because 4th of July was crazy, and it's like how amazing that we have these crazy businesses, right? That you're also now juggling a podcast. Like we are literally creating our dream life, and it's in these moments of chaos where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Where I'm like, wait, I prayed for this.
Yes.
This is so amazing that I even get to say I'm overwhelmed by my own business. I'm like making my own money, and I'm building a team, and I'm so impressed, not just by you running your business, but also you're doing this podcast. And I just love that the balloon industry has connected me to so many powerhouse women.
So let's get started on you and tell me more about Balloon Element, how you got started. I think I was seeing in one of your Instagram posts that you had gotten laid off or something, and you're able to go fully into this. So tell me more about that.
Yes. So I started Balloon Element 3 years ago, and I started like most of us do, right? Doing balloons for friends and family. I was doing backdrops for all my friends for like graduation parties and baby showers, engagements. And then one day someone was like, oh, can you make this backdrop with balloons? And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never done this. So I went on YouTube, I bought Amazon balloons, I did it. It was so hard because it was my first install. So I was like, I'm never doing this again. But I posted it, and I started getting requests for more balloons. So I was like, okay, I started diving into the balloon world. I bought all the courses. I started buying professional grade balloons. And then I heard a podcast where someone was making thousands of dollars selling to corporate clients. And I was like, what? Because at that point, I was charging $300 max, $375, $400 for backdrops and balloons. And I was like, this is amazing. And immediately something in me clicked. I was like, I don't care how long it's going to take me, but I'm going to get to the point where I am only doing corporate installs. And then I made that decision that day, and I gave it my all. I started researching. I scrubbed YouTube, the whole internet, trying to figure out how these balloon businesses were landing corporate. And I didn't find one. I'm not going to say I didn't find anything, but nothing was helpful for me to actually implement. And nothing gave me a solid roadmap of this is where you are. You're making less than 10K a month, for example. 10K back then, 3 years ago, I was like, I couldn't even imagine me making 10K a month, right?
Yeah.
I think I was making when I first started, I made 15K my first year doing balloons. Right. And I was also working my full-time job. So anyway, I didn't find any courses or anything that was specifically on corporate clients. So I was like, I when I figured this out and I knew I was going to figure it out, I was like, I'm going to make a course and I'm going to teach people how to do this because I had spent thousands of dollars, Jamie, on balloon courses and different classes, different experiences, but no one really was teaching how to do like how to land corporate. They were like, go to networking meetings, which I did, and I wasn't getting any corporate clients. They were like, get a website, and I did, and I wasn't getting anything. They were like, post on Instagram, and I think they got maybe one client from Instagram, and then all these people were like in business for 10 years. And when I would ask them about their corporate clients, they were like, oh yeah, I mean, I've built this over 10 years. And I was like, I don't want to wait 10 years. Like, I want to start building my corporate portfolio now.
Yeah.
So then I used to do sales for another company. I would do door-to-door sales. So I was like, F it, I'm just going to start going door to door. And I went to a school and I was nervous. I remember I was like trembling in my car. I was like psyching myself. I was like, okay, I could do this. Like, this is going to be easy. I'm just going to walk in and I'm going to say, hey, I do balloons. Do you have anyone that would be interested in this service? And I walked in and the person was like, oh my gosh, our PTA person was actually just talking to me about how she needs a balloon person for this upcoming graduation event. So that day I talked to the PTA person and I walked out of the school with a $1,500 contract to do balloons, which at that time was the most amount of money that I had made. It was like over 1,000. And I was like, wow, this is so possible. So after that experience, I was like, this is for me. Mm-hmm. And after doing balloons, in addition to my corporate full-time job for 2 years, I got laid off. And then the first year that I was full-time in my business, I hit the 6-figure mark. So did I answer that question? I went on a little bit of a tangent.
No, that was perfect. And I think, yeah, you did. And it actually goes to show like what happens when, right? Because you're kind of splitting your time between having this balloon business, but then also working your job. And it was like what you were able to do once you were able to focus on one thing and how you were able to grow that exponentially that way. And I love how you talk about, because I do, I started looking back, like how exactly did I start getting corporate clients? And I've really kind of been looking back because I have been in it for 10 years. And it's like, how did you? And a lot of this was really before there were any balloon classes out there. And I do remember making an intentional decision to start shifting. And if I did do any networking groups or marketing events or any collaborations, I remember switching my collaboration kind of protocol or policy to it had to have people that were within the corporate world coming to the event because I needed those people to see what I did. But I love, because it sounds like you went corporate, so did I, but my route was different a little bit than what yours is. So I love that because I think there's not 100% one way, but you have to find like the way that works for you. And you kind of took your background in door-to-door sales and applied that to what you're doing now, which has helped you.
Yes.
I love that. So
and I love that you say that because many people are like, there's not just one way. Many people just stay stuck, and it happened to me as well. So I understand. It's like this overwhelm of like, what do I do? Do I do networking? Do I get a website? Do I pay for ads? Like, please guys, if you are not like, do not start with paying with ads. Mm-hmm. Like first, it's so important to do this organically, and then you start with ads. Well, that has just been my experience, right? But there's so many ways to do it as long as you have an intention. So I just wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think that one of the great things about a balloon business is you can really start it pretty inexpensively if you wanted to. You can do it organically. And a majority of how I grew my business was through organic and through posting. And I remember one of my early days, Geronimo Balloons was one. She was my favorite. And I was like, how do I start doing that? Like, I want to do those types of installations. And so that was the route that I ended up going. Because I think she flew down to Australia for Design Week and they paid her to do these installs on the outside. I was like, that's what I want to do. It was kind of insane. And at the time, I didn't realize, like, I didn't know what you could do with balloons. And it's been really fun just to see how far the balloon industry has really gone from kind of how balloons used to be done to how they are done now, and just the different elements and what people are doing with it is really kind of amazing. So tell me more. So when you started, I would assume you worked in personal events, but how has working with corporate clients like changed your business, and how has it changed your personal life?
Oh my gosh, I can shout from the rooftop. So corporate allowed me to actually build a business model that could support myself financially. So corporate clients, when they book with you once and you do an amazing job, which I'm sure every person listening to this podcast is an amazing service provider in what they do. Once corporate books with you once, they're going to keep booking with you. And that really showed me like, okay, I'm not having to wait for someone to reach out to me and book me for a baby shower or a first birthday or a graduation party. Corporate allowed me to see the power of recurring income, and I started relying on this to start building a business that I could actually live from, right? Because a lot of us start doing this as a hobby. So we have another income stream coming in. And a lot of in the beginning, I couldn't imagine this business paying my bills. So once you get into corporate, you see that corporate is not price sensitive, as you know, Jamie. They are looking for a professional service provider. And if you do what you say you're going to do, they have no issues paying you thousands of dollars for one event. And that event could be 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
So I remember that was one of the things that blew my mind the most when I started working with corporate. I was like, this person is willing to pay me, I don't know, 10 grand for an event that's going to last 4 hours. It's amazing. So once I started seeing that consistency in income and that corporate is willing to pay you 3 to 5 times more than what we were charging for personal events, I was like, wow, okay, this can really happen. And that allowed me to get a warehouse, to buy a van, to start hiring teams so that I wasn't doing this all by myself, which is it's like another, what do you call it? It's like a whole other hole that you go down, because now you're growing as a leader and now you're teaching people that may not have any experience in balloons. You're teaching them something that you love, which is balloons. So that's what corporate really did for my business. It helped me scale and grow my business. And for my personal life, I am living better now with the income that I make from the balloon business than I was back when I was in my corporate job.
Yeah.
So yes, corporate really, it allowed me to charge, and I keep increasing my prices. Like I started an education company helping balloon business owners grow via corporate client events. And it's really helped me show other people that you can make as much money as you want when you have a corporate client, when you add a corporate client strategy to your business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I completely agree with you. I think that was also why I went corporate. One was less emotional attachment to the thing that you're creating, right? Like there seemed to be like they kind of didn't care necessarily what you did. And I don't want to say don't care. They do to a certain level, but they're not like emotionally attached to it, as if it's like if you do a wedding or a bridal shower, there's a little bit more involvement there. And it's funny because just this last week I had a meeting with a corporate client, and they had sent us their mood board, which got us all like excited. And I was like, this is definitely us. It had fringe and balloons, and they're starting to come to us more with event design. But one of the things, I literally got off the phone and went up to my team member and I was like, this is why I love working with corporate, because she came to me and she goes, we don't have, a very big budget. And I was like, oh God, like you kind of hear that and you're like, oh, okay. But when you see the mood board, I'm like, but your mood board says otherwise. And I will say, like, probably in relativity to like what they would like to have versus what their budget is, it might not be a lot. But she was like, it's about $5,000. And I was like, I can work with 5,000, but that's why I like working with corporate. So like, we don't have a very big budget. It's just $5,000. There's a big difference. Like, yeah, I'm like, I can work with that. Like, we can figure out ways to really maximize decor and look and experience. With a $5,000 budget. It's a lot more difficult when somebody comes to you and it's like, I have $500 budget, and what can you do and how can you decorate this entire area?
Yep.
So,
and I actually want to talk a little bit about that, Jamie, because first of all, when I remember when I was first starting off with balloons 3 years ago, I was like, what? People pay $5,000 for balloons? And I wish I could go back to that version of me and just give her like a big old hug and be like, you have no idea the amount of money you're going to make with this balloon business. So I think that's also encouraging if whoever's listening to this right now and has not yet gotten a $5,000 quote. It's such a rush, you guys, when you book your first 1,000, your first 2,000, your first 5,000, your first $10,000 job. It is such a rush because it shows you what's possible. And I also want to say that almost when I'm working with corporate, it feels like they're almost using monopoly money. Like the money isn't even real, because I also go on calls with corporate decision makers that are like, we have, for example, a $1,200 budget. And it's so important for us to notice the stories we make in our heads, because I also, right, just had this client said they had a $1,200 budget. And then I was like, I'm going to keep my mind open, because I've already experienced so many times when the budget is not the budget. People will go up above the budget. They will create a budget to work with you if you
Yes.
give them a reason to, if you inspire them with your photos.
Yep.
So I just, whoever's listening to this, like if someone gives you a $1,200 budget, it like this it doesn't exist. And I think that concept is a little hard to understand if you haven't been through the experience yourself, but corporate increases their budget all the time, and they will find the money to work with you.
Yep.
If you are able to inspire them.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And actually, I think my background is also in sales. And I've always kind of been, whether it was like furniture sales or some level of sales. And along that path, I remember learning, it was like, show them the more expensive option. So I always will give a few different options, but I always show them the more expensive option, then the next, and then the next. You never want to show them the cheaper option, because then they see that price from the get-go. And there have been moments where I have pitched them a much larger concept that was almost even twice their budget. And you are kind of like, it's almost, you just gotta like shoot your shot. And you never know, but they also don't know. Like a lot of people come to you and they have no idea. They kind of know what they might want, but they don't know what it costs. And so if you just continue to send them exactly what they've asked for and you don't show them additional options, you'll never get that upcharge. And that also might be why there's times, I think, in sales too, where that's where like sometimes it's like, okay, they didn't come back to me. Why didn't they come back to me? And a lot of times it's because, well, you've just been showing them what they're asking for, not what you're capable of. And you need to start showing them what you're capable of and providing them ideas, because that's actually what I think keeps corporate clients coming back, is how can you make their job easier, which is by giving them, like showing them what you can do. They can always choose the cheaper option, but now they're like, oh, this girl is making my life easier by giving me additional options. And that's also the power in corporate, because you're right, like they might have a little bit more room in the budget than what they're actually providing or saying to you. And we all know, like as things kind of go on, it all depends too. Like if you get like food, beverage, like different things, how many people are coming, like things can always kind of adjust depending on what other elements of that event are coming in. So that might be what their budget is now, but as other budgets start coming in and shaking out, you might be able to get a little bit of the bigger piece of the pie.
Yeah.
So tell me, let's go into pricing a little bit. Because I think this is probably one of the biggest, I think it's the biggest like mindset, like hold back for a lot of people, especially when starting out. I know it was for me, because I always kind of preach like my friends and family and the people that were doing events were not my ideal client. And it's really hard to be like, what? People spend what on balloons? Like I remember being mind blown by this. So tell me, like, how do you approach pricing corporate versus personal parties? Are they different? Is your pricing the same between the two? But how do you approach pricing, and how did you price yourself to where you aren't discounting, maybe you aren't discounting yourself, but you're pricing appropriately, right? And knowing that like I'm worth charging this price.
Right.
Quick pause before we jump back in. If you haven't downloaded my free guide yet, you're seriously missing out. If you're ready to stop undercharging and book those premium clients that you dream about, I made something just for you. It's my free Charge Your Worth guide. Inside, I'll walk you through the exact mindset shifts you're going to need and real strategies to move from side hustle to powerhouse brand. Download it for free at thejamietaylor.com/free guide and take the first step in building the brand and creative business that you deserve.
Oh, such a good question. So I only work with corporate, Jamie, right? So I only have corporate pricing. But the girls in my program are still in that shift, right? So they ask this question all the time. Do I keep the same pricing for both? And what I tell them is, I charge this for corporate, and if I were doing personal events, I would charge this for personal events, because the work is the same.
Yeah.
Especially if you're just starting off, it's you doing everything, doing the installation, the purchasing of inventory, the packing of your van, the delivery, the installation, the returning to pick up, to clean up, to pop the stuff. Then you have to go to U-Haul, return the truck, then drive back. I remember so clearly because before I got my van, I was like, I would see it in my mind. I was like, I'm getting a van. Like, this van is mine, because it's so much time, Jamie, that you invest. So when I started increasing my prices, I started doing that for both my personal and corporate. And I quickly saw that corporate was not giving me a pushback and personal was. I personally didn't get much enjoyment from doing the personal side of decor. Corporate has just always been more me, right? I come from corporate. I love that they run on schedule. So in terms of pricing, I was charging the same for both. Now, the people in my program, it's a mindset shift, like you said. So they start slowly increasing the pricing for their personal things. And then corporate, they charge what I'm recommending that they charge, because I know they're paying it.
Yep.
So the price, for example, I was charging $150 for classic non-branded columns, right? And then I talked to someone who was charging $250 for a classic column. And I was like, what? That is amazing. And I was like, is the column branded? Is it organic? She's like, no, it's a classic plain column. So from that day on, I started charging $250 for a column. And when I look back, I just needed permission to charge that. I just needed to know that someone else was charging it and that they were paying it. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's what you were saying. It's a mindset shift. It's like, people will pay this. $250 for an indoor column is so doable. But you need to be around people that are charging these prices, because in the beginning, you don't have that belief. So you need to be around people that have that belief. So you borrow their belief that it's working. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But corporate will always pay you 3 to 5 times more what you're paying. One of the girls in our program was previously charging $300 for a garland. She charged $1,200 to a corporate client, and they paid like this. They sent her payment the same day. That's really the biggest takeaway. Corporate clients they're not price sensitive. They're looking for a specific type of service, which just means you're going to be responsive, you're going to show up on time, and you're going to do what you said you were going to do, and they will happily pay you and keep rebooking you. And as I make, like, every year, right, I increase my pricing every year with corporate clients. Like, I'm currently charging $250 for a non-branded column, but if they want it branded, it's another $50, right? So you start becoming comfortable as you see people are paying, and then you just, little by little, you start increasing. Does that make sense?
Yep. No, I totally agree. And what do you think is the biggest thing that holds people back with going after and getting corporate clients? Like, what do you think do they just not know how to get in touch with the corporate clients? Do you think that they are scared of going after corporate, that it feels bigger than maybe what they're doing at the moment? So what do you think their biggest holdback is from it? And then what do you think that I do think that there is a difference in terms of, like, professionalism, how you present yourself, how your business looks, and going after corporate. So do you think that there is something with that as well? Like for example, if you go to corporate clients, a lot of them are going to ask for your certificate of insurance, right? So you need to have insurance and be able to add that on, which always, when you've never done something, it seems like a big deal. Like, oh my gosh, I've never done this. But like, it's so easy now. Like, I just forward the information on to my insurance and I'm like, hey, I need another COI. Can you send that over to me? And now it's like easy peasy. But I think when you start doing it, you're like, oh my gosh, this seems like such a big deal, because it seems in a mindset way, like, so professional or so, like a business. And especially when you just started out doing this as a side hobby, it feels bigger than what it really is. So let me go back to my question. What do you think is the biggest thing that holds people back? And is there anything that you think they can do to really position themselves to where corporate clients will actually want to hire them?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll start off, everything you said is definitely things that keep balloon businesses stuck. If it's both people that are just starting off and people that have been in business for like maybe 3, 5, 6 years that want to do more corporate but have not been able to break through. So the first thing you mentioned, an example, was the certificate of insurance. And people are like, oh, I have noticed it. A lot of side hobby balloon artists do not have insurance. And I'm just going to say, like, if you don't have insurance as a balloon artist, you're playing small. You're not playing pro. And I say this with love because I also started off with no insurance.
Yep.
But then when I made that decision, like I am going to work with corporate clients and this I will do. When I made that decision, then that fear of, but I don't have insurance, that fear just turned into a to-do item. I was like, okay, I don't have insurance. Let me research how much it costs to have insurance. And like, surprise, surprise, I thought it was gonna be like $700 a month. When I first started, it was like $30 a month, Jamie.
Yeah.
Like, how doable is that? But there's this quote that I love, and it's like, fear is a mile wide, but only an inch deep. Like,
that's fun.
It's we paint these pictures in our heads, and I'll go a little bit into mindset work because we've been doing things a certain way, right? So our subconscious mind wants to keep us safe, right? Because we have a part of our brain that is in charge of keeping us safe and alive, and it's what has kept us alive up to now, right? So when we start feeling those fears, like, oh my gosh, I'm going in over my head, I'm overwhelmed, insurance, I don't have this, I don't have that. It's like, you need to pause and you need to ask yourself, okay, what am I doing here? I made a decision, I'm going to work with corporate clients. This I will do. So if I don't have insurance, let me figure out how I can get insurance. And then you just write it as a to-do list on your list, and then you get that done. You find out the pricing. And I promise you, we think things are going to be way more expensive than they actually are. So that's my 2 cents on what you mentioned about insurance, because I remember I also used to feel the same way about insurance. So I hope that clarifies something for someone.
No, it doesn't. I think you got onto you transitioned perfectly, because the next set was mindset. And I think one of the things that is so important is to not worry about things that haven't occurred yet. So don't worry about the COI. Like, I don't even actually feel like I remember worrying about that. I just remember going after corporate and wanting to get those. And then all of a sudden it was like, I need a COI. And I was like, oh, let me figure out how to get that because I don't have it. But I didn't worry about that until that bridge came to me and I crossed that bridge. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest things, is to not worry about things that haven't happened yet and wait until you need it to start doing it. But don't let that hold you back from actually going after and getting the clients that you're wanting to go for. So with the people,
if anyone listening doesn't know what a COI is, it means certificate of insurance. It's just proof that you have insurance, in case anyone doesn't know.
Yeah. And in most insurance companies, I mean, they all carry them. Like I said, if you have insurance, like once you get insurance, it's very easy to just then like message your insurance provider and ask them. I have a really good relationship with mine. And I think that that's made it really easy too. And my background, I used to work at the Chamber of Commerce. So I went straight to somebody that I knew there and got my business insurance when I started. And then it was like when I had gotten asked for a COI was when I emailed them and I was like, I need to get this COI. And now that's just like my routine. Like, there might be a way to go online and I can go about it myself, but I love having like a person that I can email and talk to. I think that actually reduces the barrier of like freak out when you have somebody that you can actually speak to and email about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I want to hold on to mindset for a minute. So you work with people in the business, in the balloon industry. What are the biggest mindset things that do you feel like hold them back, or what advice do you have for people in terms of mindset?
Yes. Okay. So I think one of the things that, I have so many things that hold people back is like, either they say, I don't know where to start, and then they just stay there and wait for referrals to come in through Instagram, or really from them to just drop out of the sky. Because when I first started off, I felt like I was just waiting for things to drop out of the sky. And when you wait there, it can feel overwhelming. So that's the first thing. People are like, I just don't know where to start. And then I'll be like, okay, well, what are you doing now? And then they're like, no, I'm not doing anything. And it's like, if your goal is to get busier with corporate clients, you need to be having conversations every single day. Whether that's, I had written some notes before I got on. So I shared with you that I went door to door to like elementary schools in my area, right? But now I don't go door to door anymore. I do very strategic in-person visits, but now I would recommend people, if you don't know where to start, go on LinkedIn, start searching events managers, and then the names will pop up, and then you type their name into Google. Let's say it's like Joe Smith is an events manager at a venue that books a lot of corporate events. You would Google his name and the venue name, and then his email will most likely pop up under events manager. If you have ChatGPT, if you're using AI, I use Claude. I love Claude, but many people use Gemini or ChatGPT. You can do a prompt and say, hey, chat, please provide, I own a balloon business and I would like to do more corporate work. Please provide me with a list of 20 or 50 venues in my area that host corporate events. And then chat or AI is going to give you a list of 25 or 50, whatever it is that you asked. You could also include there, make sure that it's within 30 miles of this zip code if you just want to travel 30 miles. And then chat will give you a list of venues in your area that you can reach out to. So there's a lot of ways, a lot of resources available to us. I mean, I feel so lucky to be alive in this age where there's so much information online. To be to know who to be reaching out to. Or if you love posting on Instagram, post consistently on Instagram and post clean photos. Like, clean your lens before you take photos and post clean photos from like 4 different angles, from the front, from the side, a close up of the details, and post it once a week. And some people are like, well, I don't have corporate photos. Now there are so many programs. Mine offers photos that you guys can use and repurpose and post and send to your corporate clients. And I know other other balloon businesses that have also created a mock-up of photos that they give you access to use. So that you can like, there's no excuse for us not to be reaching out and sharing that we're a balloon business and that we want to help. So I would say, you want to start now, make a decision that you're going to book more corporate clients. Just sit down with yourself and say, you know, this is going to happen for me. I'm going to start booking more corporate clients. I don't know how. Sometimes we get so bogged down, Jamie, in the how, but the how is not our job. Make a decision. And then you're going to start asking yourself, okay, what can I do today to have conversations with corporate decision makers? And it's going to happen for you.
Yeah. No,
so that was a few.
I think that's great. That really kind of goes back to mindset, because really it is, you first have to verbalize what it is that you want, and then your brain will start figuring out the how. And oddly, like, things, when you start, I just had this conversation. She's not a balloon artist. She's a friend of mine who does backdrops, and she was really in the wedding industry, and she was really wanting to break more into corporate and activations. And we just had this conversation because it was a year ago. She said that she was like, I want to get a little bit more out of weddings and more into corporate. And her and I just had a conversation because she's sending me installs for Zillow and Lululemon. Like, hey, I have this. And so I was like, can we just stop for a minute and like celebrate the fact that, like, just a year ago, only 1 year, you mentioned the fact that you wanted to do more corporate. And what's crazy about that is, this might sound manifesty, but I do believe in it, because I think that once you verbalize something, it becomes really powerful. But I don't know that she changed a whole lot from what she was doing, but she started to verbalize it, and that stuff started to come to her. And so I was like, let's just stop for a minute, because it's insane. I feel like in the last year, she has way more corporate events like this summer than she does the wedding events. And I thought that was amazing. And another thing I wanted to touch on too, because going back to like our previous conversation about how like there's 2 different ways to do things. I never cold emailed anybody. I did here and there, never consistently through my business. I really focused on getting into certain types of events, because I was like, if I'm going to do, like, back when we were starting, it was like you didn't have a portfolio. So we would do styled shoots. And eventually I was like, I wasn't a fan of styled shoots because it felt like a total waste. Like, if I'm going to do a styled shoot, then I want to do it where other people at least get to appreciate it. And so that's when I started to really target certain types of networking events where I could put my installs up at. So one of the big group that came in here, started when I started, was called Seattle Business Babes, and I sponsored every single one of their events. But they did such a great job at bringing in some big corporate clients and like marketing people that came to those events, that they were instrumental in the very beginning of me kind of getting my name out there and pushing it out. So I love how you talk, like there's so many different ways to really kind of grab those corporate clients. And another one, kind of going back to what you said, is you kind of went direct to, say, the venues or the event managers. I went to the event planners. So there's corporate event planners. So it's finding those referral partners and people who, right, are the first line of defense, as I always kind of think of them. Like they're the first place that people go. So they're either booking a venue or they're booking an event planner. And then from there, so it's like getting them to know and knowing that there are corporate event planners versus wedding planners too. So you can really kind of target those people and just get them to know your name and start interacting with people on social media. I think mine was very passive in the way that I went about my marketing. Was much more, I focused more on like making it passive. And then I really wanted to focus on the types of installations I wanted to create. Like I wanted to look different than everybody else. And I think that's what gravitated people towards me. But then there's also people who do all the basic, things that a lot of corporate clients do need. And I've actually hit my head against the wall a little bit with this sometimes, where I'm like, we could do so much cooler. But then sometimes I'm like, sometimes they just need a balloon column, and sometimes they just need an arch, and there is a time and a place for that. And so I think too, finding like, what is your niche and what are you really good at? And I think that will also change how you end up marketing your business too.
100%. And I love that you mentioned that, because you see, when you're like, oh, we could do things that are so much cooler. See, I'm also going to integrate this into like competition, because I have a lot of girls in our program that this is also a mindset shift. Like you're like, we can make this so much cooler. And in my head, my niche, my where I thrive, my flow is classic columns all day, marquee letters, and balloon garlands, right? But then there's clients who are not looking for like this luxurious, creative, go above and beyond. They're just looking for the columns and the arches, right? And like classic decor, right? So that would be people that are going to find me and that I'm going to find them. And then for the people that want like these larger event, like they have mock-ups and mood board, they would go to you, Jamie. And like, that's why competition does not exist. We're all called to serve people that want to work with us, that want to work with our styles. Yeah. Does that make sense? So
yes. You've identified, I think that's great. Cause like you've identified, like, this is what works for me and what feels right for me. And I think that's the same thing. Like you have to figure out like what works for you and know that like, okay, those clients might not come to me. It took me actually a little while because I did want all of it. And then it was like, actually, no, I don't. Like I get a lot of passion out of the creativity. And I do know, I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, I know that clients are going to come when they're like, hey, we have this like really crazy idea and concept. We know who to go to, but they might not necessarily come to me if they want like basic columns or that kind of thing. Or I do think people will come if they have like this, this next week, actually, we have 5 locations, 5 different installs, all like the same time, huge client. It was great. And we are doing basic columns, but I think they were like, who can execute this
at a large scale?
So it is so much about finding your niche and being happy, knowing that like some people might not hire you, and that's totally okay. Yes, but you have to find the people that what works for you and like what lights you up. So it's great that you have found that and really gone it, because you started your business, 2014 or 2024, you said?
23 years ago. So would that be 2024? 25, 26? No. So 2023, because we're in 26. Okay. Yeah. 3 years ago. And very quickly I was like, wow, I love the columns. See, because I love how you described your marketing. It's like very passive. I would describe myself as a more aggressive person. Like when this is the beauty of it. We can build our businesses however we want. Like you have tons of corporate clients, and now you're doing these huge installs, and your style has very much evolved in the last 10 years that you've been, so that's I think one of the things that keeps people from pursuing corporate is that they'll make a story in their head like, oh, corporate's going to want these like huge activations, or I'm unqualified, a little bit of that imposter syndrome. Like, who am I going after corporate? Something I hear a lot is, I just started. It's like corporate will grow with you. And
Yeah.
going back to the competition thing, I have corporate clients who book me and another balloon vendor for the same event. Why? Because I do balloon drops in addition to other balloon decor, and this other balloon vendor doesn't. So even though they can hire me and do balloon drops, the marquee letters and balloons, they like to keep 2 balloon vendors, right? So it just experiences like this show me that there is more than enough to go around for everybody. And you don't have to be scared that someone's going to poach your client. First of all, I think that's like that energy in itself is like not fun, and it keeps your mind like stressed for no reason. If you take care of your corporate clients, they are not going anywhere. And if they are looking for the cheapest balloon bidder, then that is not a client you want in your site anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and that's happened to me as I have grown. Of course, my charges have increased, and I have had corporate clients that are looking for the cheapest, which is fine, right? There's, like we were saying, there's something for everyone.
Yes.
So what happens then? Now, balloon artists that are just starting off or that are happy with charging lower prices will get that client.
Yeah.
And then everybody is happy. Everybody always wins. As long as you go in with the intention of, I'm not trying to steal anybody. I'm trying to provide value in the marketplace. I'm trying to see where the gap is. So for me, many clients already have a balloon vendor, but they don't provide balloon drops. Or maybe they're working with a vendor and they haven't really found a vendor that matches their styles. Like I'm very confident in my style. Yeah. And that's the work that I share. Clients will know in a minute whether they want to work with you or not.
Yeah.
Does that, I keep going on time, but it's
Definitely.
just, I want to
No, I love it. And I think you kind of hit a point too, where this is something that I'll like preach to people as well. And I think that you bring that you're like, I have like an aggressive, and I was watching your reels. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this girl. Like I love her energy. And I think that so many of us, like you have to realize that like, yes, your work will bring people, but a lot of times your personality and who you are is what's like, I might not mesh with somebody, like they might personality wise mesh with somebody else, and that's fine. And so it's like knowing that like by showing your personality, showing who you are, making your business somewhat human. And I know that's scary for some people, but I think that yes. And I think that once people know you, it's like building rapport, right? So it's you're attracting your ideal client, but then on top of that, when they know who you are, they are going to continually buy from you time after time after time again. And I think that that is the key, is making it less transactional and building more of that relationship and realizing. And so I think that if you're really wanting to have people who hire you for all of their events, that's what you need to start doing, and start showing them your personality, and they will, and not make everything so, to me, sometimes like online, like I will literally comment on people that I know that hire me, and it's super passive. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I comment on I actually socialize on social media, and it has nothing to do with balloons, has nothing to do with my business. Or something that I will tell people that I do is with some clients, I'll send them ideas, like kind of how I'll be like, oh, this would be cool for next year. Now, I don't know if they're hiring me for next year, but I'm assuming that they are. And why wouldn't you? And so, and it goes back to making like their life easier, right? But I feel like it's having that interaction. I do think there's a line. I think you have to like slowly build that rapport and slowly start figuring out like how you can take things still professional, but commenting and just knowing that like, hey, I'm here, is a really great way to do very passive outreach.
Yes. Yeah. And you mentioned transactional. I love that, because if you are not following up with a client, let's say it's just a $2,000 event. If that client is not a $25,000 a year client for you, you're not doing enough follow-up. Like none of our clients should be a one-time deal. Corporate clients are lifetime clients. And if we are not taking the time to follow up each month minimum with our corporate clients, we are doing them a disservice. We're doing ourselves a disservice. And if you are not in your client's inbox every month, I can guarantee you there's going to be someone else that's going to be in there. And they're not going to purchase from another balloon vendor because they're trying to spite you or because someone stole your business. it was just convenient. Corporate clients are so busy, Jamie. You know this. If
Yes.
someone pops into their inbox and they have an event next week or next month, they're like, hey, thank you actually so much for sending over your email. Like, I actually have an event. Could you provide me some pricing? Could you provide me your availability? Like, it should not be transactional. Like, building a business, what I have learned is it's all relationship. And relationship doesn't mean you have to pretend to be interested in things that you're not. It can be very much business focused, but it's relationship. Like every month, hey, how can I serve you? What events do you have on your calendar that you want me to have on your calendar so that I can follow up with you? Like how you said, making their life easier. So they have a bunch of to-dos in their head. So when you pop in every month and you're like, hey, I just wanted to share and let you know, I just got these backdrops, or I just see these branded columns for this other company, or I'm now offering this chrome color. Like, right? There's so many different ways you could be checking in just to say hello and share what you've been doing. So it hits the points that you said, adding value and not transactional. Like all of your corporate clients should not be one and done deals. They should be booking with you minimum 2 times, 3 times, 4 times a year, like every quarter. They're having events. I had a client that told me, no, we only need you for Father's Day. And I was like, okay, no problem. Do you mind if I check in every month? Just share with you what I'm doing. And he was like, yeah, sure. Every month, Jamie, he books me. Like people don't know what they want. We tell them what they want. We show them what's possible. Like how amazing how we have a business that can inspire people to like dream more. We live in an experience economy now. Everyone wants to take photos. Everyone wants to post on Instagram. So when we're sending these ideas to our corporate clients, like, hey, your event could be 10x better just by including a balloon wall with your brand name in the entrance. Like that lights them up.
Yeah, I love that. So what do you think a balloon business owner could do today to start positioning themselves for more corporate clients?
Yes. Okay. So definitely reaching out either through LinkedIn, like looking for people that are in events. Just if you just type in events manager in LinkedIn, you're going to get a ton of results. Doing that chat GPT prompt. So you have a solid list. So you have like a leads list of who I can be reaching out to. Because many times we're like, okay, but where do I start? Who do I talk to? Talk to anyone that has an events role in their name. So that's what you can be doing. And if you are more if you want to do networking, go look for associations in your area that are specific to hospitality, like that are specific to marketing people that are having these type of events. So if you're more of a person that you like to go in person, like I built my really 99% of my business through sending emails to specific roles. That's how I built my business. That's how I teach other people to build their business. But like we said in the beginning, there are many ways to build your business. You did it by doing the intentional sponsored events. That's absolutely a way to do it. But we need to, as business owners, we are the people that are right now responsible for the sales of our business and the face and the brand, right? So whether it's that you go to networking events every Tuesday and like this is something that you do every Tuesday and you follow up with people, you send emails like the same day that you meet them at the networking event saying, hey, it was great meeting you. Having conversations every single day, having conversations, posting, like people are not buying from you because they don't know you exist. And whoever thinks, and I get this a lot also, these objections in the group of the girls that I coach, it's like, well, the market's oversaturated. And I'm like, if I can build a multi-6-figure business in Miami, the market is not oversaturated. I spend 0 time thinking about competition because I don't believe it exists. So the market is not oversaturated. If you have a desire to grow your balloon business, it's because there are people that want to buy from you. I had a conversation with a corporate decision maker a few weeks ago, and she was like, thank you so much for reaching out. I have been looking for a balloon artist for 1 week. And in my head, I was like, that's insane that you have not found a balloon artist for 1 week and you've been looking. So
I think you touched on a topic though that I think is really important. I think a lot of times so many people, especially with social media, right? You can post and then you just wait. You post and you wait and you hope that people come to you. And what you're talking about is you're taking an active approach in emailing. And I will say, like, I'll share in one, and not too long, because I do want to go into your email outreach framework, but because I did see that on one of your posts, but I started mine 10 years ago when nobody else was doing, like, it wasn't, to me, it does feel more saturated. However, do I think that that's impossible? No, that's why I think you need to figure out like where your role is and where your niche is. But one of the things, and other balloon artists have said this to me, and I think it's like not the right frame of mind, which is, oh, you probably don't have to market anymore because you have been in the industry. And I think that's totally wrong. Like any business in any industry has to always market. But I do think there's a level of when the economy, like with COVID and all of that kind of happened, that's when I started to do a little bit more outreach and where I didn't have to do that before. Well, now we're entering a market where there's more balloon artists and I needed to drum up business because it felt like it was a little bit slower. So that's when I really started to do a little bit, be more active in my outreach. And you do see an uptick in the work that you do. So I think being passive and posting is great. I do think that if you do that, your work has to be like so good to some degree that, right? Like, oh, we have to go to that person in order for it to be really passive. But and I don't mean this like in a way but it's like if there's 20 businesses out there that all look the same, why should somebody go to you versus somebody else? Well, who are they going to go to? The person who's reaching out to them and saying, hey, you just made their job easier. So tell me, let's go into your email outreach and how you've taken an active approach, and tell me, what does this email, like, I mean, I know you've talked about like getting them and emailing them, but what do you have, like a system? Do you send out multiple emails over a period of time? What does that look like?
Yes, I love this question. Okay, so my intro email is so simple. And I think something I talk about a lot is like simple scales. Simple, like keep it as simple as you can. My intro email is just, let's say I'm reaching out to Jamie because you're an event coordinator. I'm like, hey, Jamie, I just wanted to check in and put my company on your radar. We provide balloon installations, marquee letters, and balloon drops, or insert whatever your services are here in this area, insert your area. Here's our website. And honestly, Jamie, when I first started doing this, I didn't even have a website. So I would include, we're revamping our website. As soon as that is done, I will check back in. So you have that. If there's anything I can do to support you in the meantime, if you have any upcoming events, please feel free to let me know. Or if there's anything I can get you more information on, just let me know. Warmly, my name, my phone number, my company name, send. And I will say I was attaching photos of things that I had done. So at that time, it was like very simple classic columns, and I wasn't even sending, like, I was doing classic columns with 24-inch balloons, which right now I use 36-inch balloons. I feel like it looks more grand. But back then I was using 24-inch balloons. I had very basic arches. I was sending probably like 3 or 4 photos, Jamie, and people were booking me. And people were thanking me, replying like, thank you so much for reaching out. When you have your website, yes, please let me know. Right? So now, as I am sending those emails out, in the beginning, I started off doing LinkedIn and doing that chat GPT, like give me a list. And I was manually, now I have a way more streamlined system. It's faster. I have saved myself and my students now hours of doing that work, but this is how I first started off, right? And then I would add all of those emails to an Excel sheet. And then every month I started manually following up with these people saying, hey, Jamie, just wanted to check in and share some photos of work that we did in the last month since I reached out. If there's anything I can help you with, please let me know. Now I have thousands of emails, Jamie, on my list. So I use Flowdesk, and I'll send one email every single month. And I book jobs from these emails. People that had never replied in 8 months, Jamie. I tell this story all the time. Like one person that hadn't replied in 8 months of me sending an email booked me for a $8,000 job. A person, Jamie, that has not replied in 12 months of me sending her emails sent me a $4,000 referral. And she has not once replied to my emails, but she referred me to someone who was looking for work. Like, this works. Corporate clients especially are in their emails every single day. So even if they don't reply, don't get discouraged. I tell my students, follow up every single month, because one of the objections I get to is like, oh, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be pushy. Like this fear of rejection. I get it. I was also there. But the more that you do it, and first of all, the better you get, the more confident you get. And also the more you do it, the more you're going to see people are going to respond, Jamie, saying, thank you so much for reaching out. I was looking for a balloon vendor. You're making my job so much easier. Or they could say, I'm not the right person, but I'm going to forward it to our events team, and they're going to reach out if they see a need. So another like lesson that I've learned in this whole process of years of building my company is people want to help you. People, you reach out, you're doing that, you're putting that energy out there. Like, I want to help. I want to build my business. I want to do what I'm here to do, which is balloon decor and making experiences funner. When you put that energy out, it's not going to come back empty. Even if you reach out to someone and it's not the right person, they're going to reroute it so it gets to the right person. Yeah. So that's my system. That's my system now. It's more streamlined now. But when I first started, which I know a lot of people maybe first starting, don't make it complicated. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? Progress over perfection. It can be messy. Let it be messy. Just get it done. Tell yourself you're going to send 5 emails or 20 emails every single day. That is cumulative. At the end of the day, what? At the end of the month, you've sent out 700 people know your business that did not know your business a month ago. And those 700 people at least know 10 other people. So what is that? Like 700 times 10, what is that? 7,000? Yeah. And people will say like, oh, it doesn't work like that. Guys, it does, because I don't just do this. I teach people to do this.
Yeah. Honestly, it doesn't so much. Your people are staying top of mind. Like by sending them out regular emails, all you're doing, you're staying top of mind. They might not need you now, but somebody might be asking them, do you know a balloon artist? I love that. And actually, I want to ask you, because I think one of the hardest parts with corporate is they can change positions frequently. Yeah. And so it's like you have one contact, you work with them really well, and then all of a sudden they're gone. And sometimes in amazing scenarios, they'll hand you off to the next person that's coming in. But many times that's not how that works. So how do you go about overcoming like, okay, somebody's gone, now you don't have that contact. How do you try to figure out who that is and how that works?
Great question, Jamie. I love this question. Every month, if you are following up, which you should all be following up every month, you're going to get an email that says, hey, this person is no longer with this organization. So that is your first flag to be like, oh, I need to call this person. Like, I need to call the number that's going to be on the email, or it's going to give you an email saying, I'm telling you, like, it's so easy to have a successful business now, Jamie. Like, you send out that email, it's going to say, Jamie Taylor is no longer with this company. She's off doing bigger and better things. For now, please email this person. And bam, you have your new point of contact, or you'll have a phone number to call. So that's why it's so important to be following up with our clients every single month, because people leave, right? They have new opportunities, but that's not an excuse for us to lose an amazing client. That's why it's so important to build these relationships every single month. Yeah. And then one thing that just popped to my head is, if you call someone or you send an email and they're like, oh, we have a balloon vendor already that we love. My response is always like, amazing. Is it okay if I still send you ideas so that if they are ever unavailable, you have a plan B? Or honestly, you can even send these ideas to them so that they can recreate it for you. I just want to be in your ecosystem. And many times, Jamie, I literally had this happen 2 months ago, I think. It's this client who had already told me, we have a balloon vendor that we absolutely love. They called me on a Thursday and they're like, our balloon vendor is unavailable. We had this last minute event. Could you please fulfill this request? And it was like a $3,400 job. And if I wouldn't have kept reaching out with them, because I would have been put off and said like, oh, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Like, I didn't steal any business. This client, this balloon vendor was unavailable. So it's like, we're filling the gap. I'm sharing this because this is an objection I get a lot from the girls in my program. Like, they don't want to step on anybody's toes. I get it. But we're not doing it to step on people's toes. We're just filling a gap in the marketplace.
Yep. At the end of the day, it's funny you say that, because I do have, a few balloon artists that I'll interact with. And I firmly believe if we're going up against each other and they choose you, like, fine. We can be friends, but at the end of the day, like, we're friends because we met through business. Yeah. And if they hired you, great. Then we can either look at whether or not it was like pricing, design, or whatever. I can kind of go back and look at it. Maybe they just like you more. But I agree. Like, I don't think anybody should feel bad for getting business. Like, you're in this business to get business. I do want to go back really quick talking about pricing, because this is something that I just got this last week, and I've really been pushing, because I kind of push the charge your worth. Because I think a lot of people really do come in and undercharge. I did it too in the beginning, because I think it's natural. Balloons don't cost a lot. You really don't know what to charge for your own value, for your own time. And then you start adding in overhead, other people, if you're wanting to scale. Yeah. But going back on pricing with corporate clients, when you get these last minute requests, do you charge a rush fee?
Oh, that's such a good question. Jamie, honestly, sometimes I do, sometimes I do not.
Mm-hmm.
If I have everything in stock and my calendar is open, I
Mm-hmm.
don't. But if it's something that I have to ship, like if it's an order of 200, for example, we had like a FIFA event, like these inflatable soccer orbs, and I have to rush that, then yes, I will.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, just this last week we did. I mean, it was the install that we have tomorrow, and it's 5 different locations. 5 installs is a week notice, and we
Ooh,
didn't have anything next week. So really, did I need to charge them? But you know what I was telling somebody there, to me, in longevity, I think one of the hardest things about the events industry is like you're either running or or sitting. There's like really not a lot of in between, right? Like it's like all the events seem to happen all at the same time. And I was just telling somebody, I was like, I'm gonna call it like not a rush fee as much as I'm gonna call it like a nervous system like fee because I feel like because it's like you get all this like okay we do have to rearrange like there was other like things that we needed to do within like with all the 4th of July installs, we needed to put things away. We need to reorganize our storage unit. Like there was kind of cleanup stuff that we needed to do this next week. And I think we're all actually looking forward to not having something because it's just been running. And then all of a sudden it was like, nope, we had to drop everything we were doing, get all the balloons ordered, get the staff and everybody like put together because 3 of the installs are at the same time with 3 different U-Hauls.
yeah.
And so I was like, I started really believing that I don't think it's really just about whether or not it actually costs me more, because I
Mm,
think that the rush that happens when you're having to like do that on your own, like health,
yeah.
is really difficult in the long run, which is why I think a lot of people get burnout in the event industry because it's definitely like a run and then okay now we have nothing. And I think that when you can kind of build that in and know, um, I think it's worth it. I think people should, because I
Yeah.
do think that a lot of corporate clients will come really last minute. And a lot of times I'm like, they know these events are happening because a majority of them are happening the same time every year. A lot of times they just don't know whether or not they have a budget for decor
Yes.
and then last minute kind of decide to do it. But I was telling somebody else about this, like court party rentals, like they don't bat an eye, like they charge a rush fee for that
Mm,
stuff. So why shouldn't a small business be, why should we be any different? So
yeah.
I do think people do. I don't always.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, if I have clients that I've worked with on a regular basis and hire me regularly, I don't always necessarily do that. But
Yeah.
it is starting to become a policy because my goal is that people know to book me in advance. And
Amazing.
that's what I want to teach people to do.
And I love that. And I think that I will never pretend like I have it all figured out. I am constantly learning. I am constantly paying for
Hmm.
mentorship. Like there's still so much that I need to grow. I'm still
Hmm.
every day, not every day, sorry, but like every quarter saying like, do I need to increase certain pricing? Because am I really making a good profit? Am I really so there's
Yeah.
like I will never pretend to have it and like all together. I am still learning. I still see so much potential for me to keep increasing my prices and also adding rush fees. Like this conversation also makes me think like, when I don't add rush fees, why don't I? And I know if I'm being honest with myself, it's like, it's A, because I really want this client, or
Yep.
because it's a good client, but I'm still thinking like, them being a good client doesn't mean that my landlord's going to pay me less or like that
Yeah.
the person I'm buying balloons from is going to waive the rush fee. So these conversations are great. You see, like, because
Yep.
they make you think and not from a place of like, oh God, like I'm so terrible that I don't have the worth to charge. It's like, no, you come from a place of like, where can I improve? How can I grow?
Hmm.
And I will add a thought that just came by is if if I am afraid to increase my pricing for a certain client, in my mind, it's because it's like, oh, fudge, well, they're not going to buy from me and I need the money, right? Which I'll be honest, like I still get into if it's like I still get into these situations myself. Like even if I have certain results, like no one is exempt from the
Yep.
personal growth that needs to be happening in their business every single day to
Hmm.
keep growing and keep evolving, right? So it's
Yeah.
like if I am scared that I'm going to lose a quote or a project to another vendor or to like quote unquote competition or that they're not going to book me because of my pricing, if I experience that fear, it's probably because I don't have a fat enough pipeline. Like if I have 10 clients that are all going to
Yes.
pay me $5,000 in my pipeline, I don't care if one $5,000 project doesn't want to pay me the $750 rush fee because I have a list of clients who are interested. So that's something that I humble myself with too. Like, Carol, if you're scared of not doing this, like if this client not booking you, are you doing what you need to be doing every single day to have a good pipeline? And many times that answer is no.
Yeah. No,
So-
gosh, I could totally agree.
Yeah.
What's funny is I struggled through that same thing. I naturally actually did want a discount because it was 5 locations. It was all these things. It was actually my employee that was like, you constantly preach about charging your worth. If anything, we should be charging more. So I really can't take full credit. She was like, you are the one that preaches this, but it's natural to want to get the job. And it was funny because we were literally on our way home from an install. And I was like, you know what? You're right. We were not expecting to get this install next week. Let's put my charger worth into actual,
Action.
yes, and see if it works, because if it doesn't, then maybe we don't charge a rush fee. But they did. They came back, they secured us, and it was totally fine. And so
Let's go. Well done, Jamie.
thank you. But you're right. It's totally like a scarcity or not wanting to get it. Or like you said, you're willing to discount it because you're like, oh, I don't have as much coming up. I want to guarantee that I get the job. And so, and there's some truth. I think there's definitely ebbs and flows. Like when you start, in the beginning, you definitely are trying to get business. But as you grow and as you can kind of adjust that and get a little bit better and more confident with what you're doing. But I think regardless of how long you've been in business, there's always a level of kind of struggling with that. But I think it's pushing yourself through it. And that's what I'm hoping all business, especially balloon business owners. I think some people, sometimes it drives me nuts because I'm like, because sometimes like florists get paid so much. And it's like, you think because florals, it's like so pretty and it's so expensive. And I'm like, balloon artists can be paid just as well as some of these other avenues of or decor businesses. And so that's one of the things I really want to push people is like, just because it's balloons doesn't mean it's less than other creative elements.
Yes, I love that. And you're doing a great job, Jamie, just by you having this podcast. Like there's a quote that says conversion happens through immersion. So whoever's listening to your podcast and spending like an hour with us right now, their brain is literally being rewired as they're listening. So what you're doing is what you say you want to do. Like you are helping business owners understand this is like, I try not to talk a lot about mindset because I want to give actionable tips for people to start doing now. But business is so much of mindset and like what you think you're capable of and like just stepping on the other side of the fear of the rejection of the sending an email. So that is what you're doing. You're empowering. And to help anyone listening to do a reframe, people will pay $12,000 or $14,000 for 3 minutes of fireworks. Which is, it was so wild when I heard that. And
how much? You said what?
You'll pay like $12,000 for 3 minutes of fireworks for like a wedding or like a special event. So you can definitely be charging $2,000 plus for a balloon wall.
Yeah.
Like this is possible. People are paying it. The money is out there because we're creating experiences. We're not just selling balloons. I used to think that. It's like, oh, but these are just balloons. I used to think that myself. And it's not just balloons. We are creating an experience. We are a vendor that they have in their budget, like in their events decor. This is an exercise I had my girls do. In your city, wherever it is that you are, go on Google and put what is the event budget that people spend annually in. For example, it would be Miami for me in events every year, right? Or if you're in North Carolina, you would do North Carolina, or you would do Boston if you're in Boston. And the number is going to be staggering. It's going to be like millions, or it might even be $1 billion in your area. And for most people, you are just asking for a very small slice of that pie. So once you start putting yourself around these huge numbers, you're going to start being like, oh, charging $500 for delivery? Oh, that's nothing. Charging $2,000 for a balloon wall? That's nothing. Charging $300 for a balloon column? That's nothing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that once you get into that world and I do love that you're making, what I'm excited about is that you have some very like tangible things that people can take and implement. And that's what I'm hoping for, especially in this Pop-Up to Powerhouse podcast, was I definitely wanted it to be something actionable that people take. I want to close out with 2 things. The first one, we're going to go through a myth or fact. So I'm going to just say a statement, and then you're going to tell me whether this is a myth or a fact.
Okay.
You need a huge portfolio to book corporate clients.
Myth.
You need a large social media following.
Myth.
Corporate clients always negotiate.
Myth.
You have to know someone to get your foot in the door.
Myth.
Yeah, you've already explained that one for sure. Corporate clients are harder to work with.
Myth.
Once you land one corporate client, getting the next one becomes easier.
Oof, truth. Or fact. Was it fact?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want everyone to know like where to follow you. You have your own Grow My Biz, right? That's how you say it?
Grow My Balloon Biz. Yes.
Grow My Balloon Biz. So tell us just quickly more about that, where people can find you and how they can connect with you.
Yeah, so you can find me on socials, which is at Balloon Element. That's my service-based company. And you can find the educational company at Grow My Balloon Biz. They're both on Instagram. And if you have any questions, they can send me a DM. I'm happy to answer them. And that's a little bit about where you can find me and what I do. If you want to work with more corporate clients, I help you find corporate clients in your area so you can start reaching out. If you want to work with corporate clients, you need to start reaching out today because they have events, let's say next week or 9 months from now, but you need to be top of mind and build that relationship so that they start booking you. So yeah, that's a little bit about what I do, and that's where they can find me.
I love that. Thank you so much. So we will have everything linked below in the show notes so that they can easily find you. But thank you so much for coming on. I love this. It's actually my first balloon interview podcast. I've kept everything very kind of more like events. So when you reached out, I was super excited to have you on the podcast. I think that, and honestly, I think anybody, even if you're not in balloons, can likely take something from this and implement it in their business, because doing some active outreach and not waiting for people to come to you, I think is probably the number one thing that we've talked about in here. And it can take some real actionable steps at actually bringing business to them instead of waiting for it to happen.
100%, Jamie.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie.
Now, a quick ask. I want to keep bringing you these free educational podcasts so that you can build the event business that you want. You can make that possible by simply sharing this episode with your friend, following us on your favorite platform, and leaving us a review. It takes just a moment, and it makes sure that I can keep bringing you the best quality content so that you can go from pop-up to powerhouse.